in Mishna Berura on 283. Okay. The Mechaber had said that the reason why you could use the fuels and the wicks, which you're not permitted to use normally for Shabbos candles, but since you're not permitted to use the light, so a person, there's no concern that a person may manipulate the wick that it should burn. So we're holding here in Mishna Berura. Let's start. We have stuff in the beginning, really, over here. Kol hashmonim v'apsilos hainu ki shmonim gruim shenimshochen achar apsilo. They are inferior oils that don't absorb, not drawn into the wick. On page 282. Chen yesh psilos gruim sheneor nitle yofebhen. Then they don't burn well. Kidleo sim reis amachdal b'Shabbos osel adlikon. For Shabbos, you're not permitted to light these kinds of wicks or use this kind of oil. So Gadaitoch b'Chanukah also gamkein ladlikon shema yavodi de kiboy. Kamashmalon de loch shlezeh, because you'll be concerned that it may be extinguished. For Shabbos, what do you light the candles for? Illumination. So if you use these kinds of wicks of oils, if it extinguishes, you're in the dark. The Kaimelon kov saint zokaglo, but regarding Chanukah, even if it should go out, one doesn't have an obligation to relight it. The kemet shehidlik nase zechelenes v'nigmar mitzvah. It's completed. Shemle Chanukah b'kol mitzvah namufcho lekach hapsilo tzemer gefen. Nevertheless, although that you yotze, but to do the mitzvah correctly, once you take a wick made of cotton wick, or chut pishton, or a thread of linen thread, which burn well, and shuman or chelev haneser basar b'cholav. Then he has a question. What about fat or chelev, which was cooked with milk, which is basar b'cholav, you're not permitted to benefit from? Also lahatlik mimenu ner Chanukah. You're not permitted to use it for ner Chanukah, which we had difficulty with this, because we mitzvahs lav lehenis nenu, right? That's not considered benefiting, because what's the benefit? The mitzvah benefit. Gamkin also livtulei b'shishim lahatlik mimenu. You're not permitted to subsume it. Hanoged lahatlik b'yom rishon echon kameich mosef holech tzorch sheyah nosef doma ner ikar. I mean, every additional candle should be similar to the original candle. Aval osim she'osim ner l'choleach echod b'beiso. If everybody lights their own candle, right? We spoke about the two customs. In certain communities, you have one set of candles for a whole household. And the Ashkenazic meaning is that every person lights his own candles. Every person has his own set of candles. So if everybody lights his own candle, and we're speaking where you don't have a menorah, you just paste it, you just melt it on a tray. So if you can have multi-candle colored different types of candles, what are people going to think? Each candle belongs to another person, right? So if that's the case, you're out of touch. What night is it? Because people, rather than identifying it with the night, they're going to identify the candles with people. What about stolen oil? Which we didn't understand the question. It's mitzvah b'avera, right? No, it's b'fnei Yush. What are you talking about? It's b'fnei Yush. Person that in despair. What about a person steals a lulav? Right? Second day where you don't have to own it. Yotze would have borrowed lulav. Yotze, the Gemara says explicitly, it's mitzvah b'avera. You're not yotze. So over here, person did in despair. You're using his oil for your Hanukkah lights. No, but it's the mitzvah that you're doing. What are you lighting? You're lighting oil that's stolen. So you're doing the mitzvah with a stolen object. It's a mitzvah. So what? It's mitzvah b'avera. For what? That makes the mitzvah better. So what if you're destroying it? No, it doesn't make a difference. L'ner Chanukah. Once it's changed, you convert it. It doesn't make it, but the mitzvah is the lighting. It has the potential to burn. Yeah. It's a question if a use it for mitzvah. Okay. L'ner Chanukah avodo la'shamush. But these oils you can't use for the shamus. Why? Because why do we add the additional candle? To be able to benefit from it. So if it's going to be an inferior type of oil, it goes out, you're defeating your whole purpose. The whole idea is lighting the extra case you want to benefit from the light. Right? Which light are you benefiting from? From the one that you added, which is the shamus. So if the shamus doesn't burn well, again, there it's a problem. During the week, it's not a problem. You can use any oil for the Ner Chanukah, even the shamus. But on Shabbos, since you're adding the additional light to be able to benefit from it, so Shabbos you can't use, for the shamus you can't use that quality, inferior quality oil. Since you're permitted to utilize it for any type of need, you may manipulate the wick. Oh, now there's this question. Right? This is discussed in your Yoredeya. What's the halacha if a rat, you find a rat in a barrel of oil. So a rat is putrid. So this is not a question. Not that you would eat it, right? But the fact is, now, we rule no stam levgam, anything which does not enhance something. And that's why if you use let's say you have a meat dish, a meat pot, and mistakenly you cook milk in that meat pot after 24 hours, mistakenly. Right? You have a meat pot, a cholent pot, and then you take a cream of vegetable soup. 24 hours later, you cook in that pot. Are you permitted to eat the cream vegetable soup? Ernie, you're allowed. Why? Because after 24 hours, whatever is absorbed in the walls of the pot is considered putrid. It's not something which contributes to anything in a positive sense. Therefore, you're permitted to eat the soup. Okay? What about if something immediately, you add something and that causes it, rather to enhance it, it causes it to be putrid? Because the item itself is putrid, like a rat. Right? So even within 24 hours, if you conceivably want to eat that oil or that food item, you're permitted, even within 24 hours. So the question is, we discussed yesterday, 2 days ago, that even though something may be permitted to you on a personal level, but to use it for a mitzvah, it's based on a posuk. Would you offer it to a prince or to a king? It's not appropriate. It's called hakriveinu l'fochasecha. It's not something which is appropriate. It's not respectful. So now we have a question over here. Im nimtzo achbar b'shemen. You find a rat in the oil or a mouse in the oil. Are you permitted to use that oil for Ner Chanukah? What would you say, Joshua? No. The pot has to be purged. The pot has to be purged. The food is kosher, but the pot has to be purged. You have to kosher the pot. Mosus, the oil is considered mos, disgusting, detestable. Vosel Ner Chanukah, and you cannot use it for Ner Chanukah. Good question. So that's the machlokes the Shach and Taz. We rule that even if you have shishim, it's not considered appropriate. I don't know if I told the story here. First time I went to Israel in 1970. So I was invited to a meal at somebody's house, and in those days, it was many things, manufacturing, processing was much on a very inferior level. So there was a company then. It was called a wine company. It was called Jerusalem Wine. Jerusalem Wine. They exported a little bit. In those years, the only wine that came to the United States was Carmel. Carmel Wine Company. Carmel Wine came, Jerusalem, and it was a gallon bottle. The person had the bottle on the table, a gallon bottle, and I see on the bottom of the bottle, I see tiny ants floating around. Right? Tiny ants. And of course, it doesn't go into and he's making kiddush. And the ants are still in the bottom of the bottle. It's a question of ants go into the cup. The cup doesn't have any ants in it. So, and he himself was a very observant person, but he wasn't a Talmud Chacham. He had a son who was studying in Panovich at the time. And And I already had learned you were there then. And what happened was, I said to him, I said, you know, it's not so simple to use this wine for Kiddush. Because the Shach rules that even though, la'aloch, even if you have shishim, even if something's subsumed, but fact, and it's does tam the v'gam, but to use it for a mitzvah, you shouldn't use it for a mitzvah. Tas says you're permitted to, the Shach says you should not. And the case they discuss is the rat. That if you have a rat in a barrel of oil, and you have more than 60 to 1, are you permitted to use that oil in a Beis HaKnesses to light the lights in shul? You know, like the Amud. The Tas says since it's 60 and it's does tam the v'gam, it's not a problem. The Shach says, but still, it's inappropriate. You shouldn't. So I told him that this wine, according to the Shach, doesn't qualify to be used for Kiddush for that reason. Even though you're permitted to drink it, you can say a bracha on it for your own usage, but use it for a Dvar Mitzvah, it's not something which is appropriate. So that's what he's saying over here. To use it for Ner Chanukah, it's something which should not be. No. Bracha is Birchas HaNenim. You're not permitted to benefit from the world without acknowledging where it comes from. You're not doing a mitzvah, you know, not. Birchas Hamazon is a mitzvah. The first bracha you say is not a mitzvah. It only allows you to eat. You want to eat, you have to say a bracha. You know, it's like somebody says, you give somebody something. A person asks, so he doesn't say please. So you say, you don't say please? He says, oh, I thought that was a mitzvah. You know. There it's different. Each one. See, most of the problems there was extinguishing or manipulating. Smelling bad, the whole idea of Shabbos is to enhance the Shabbos. I mean, if the person's going to leave the table because it totally interferes with your owning Shabbos, you should definitely use. It's a foul-smelling fuel, right? Shabo. So Ramos says that what's the most appropriate fuel to use is olive oil. That's the mitzvah min ha-muvchar. And he says the closest thing to oil, to olive oil, is a wax candle. Candle made of wax that it burns clean, and the flame is a clear flame. That's the closest thing to oil. Nevertheless, even though the wax candle is almost identical to the oil, the olive oil, he says, nevertheless, there's a mitzvah min ha-muvchar, there's a mitzvah great to use oil. Miner shava, because factually the miracle, we commemorate the miracle of the Beis HaMikdash. What fuel did they use in the Beis HaMikdash? It was olive oil. Therefore, olive oil is really what's preferable. Years ago, very few people used olive oil. It's like at one time, very few people owned a shas. Very few people owned a shas. Today, a bar mitzvah boy has a library edition. He has a a regular edition, and then he has a travel edition. Three sizes of shas. Our Shivas told me exactly when he was in Slobodka, in the early part of the 20th century, Slobodka, they had one shas for the whole yeshiva. One complete shas. And if you'd want to borrow it, you'd have to leave collateral. You know, this was the Vilna shas. So people in those years, what you had, you bought a menorah, it cost you 20 cents, made of tin. The candles, a box of candles cost another 10 cents, and that was it. Who could afford a silver menorah? People didn't have the means to purchase that kind of menorah. If they had it from Europe. It's not they bought it here in the United States. It's something that they brought over. But if you could afford, but today, you know, who doesn't like with oil? Most people do. Vafil b'leil Shabbos toch. Shlomo so v'daitoch nechush b'zeh kamo ba'alma ner shel Shabbos. You're even permitted to use these inferior fuels even when you light for Friday night. Shem lo tidlak yofi yata ner lohavi Hashem fnei apsilo kamashmon tekanin lochush lezeh. For Shabbos candles, you're not permitted to use the inferior fuels, but for Hanukkah lights you can, because there's no concern you may manipulate the wick. So one is not concerned. You see something interesting. You know, most people are what you call amaratzim. They're not really fully in touch with the halacha. Most people, if they light the Hanukkah lights, it goes out, what do they do during the week? They relight it. They don't know the halacha is right. Kov says in zokah that if it's extinguished, you have no obligation to relight it, but they do. So today, if you use an inferior quality oil, and it goes out, what do people do? Again, I mean, you have the same chashash. It's the same concern. The person may he sees it starts flickering to go out, he may start manipulating the wick. Right? They don't associate one with the other. If it's regular Shabbos candles, for sure, because you're permitted to benefit from the light. So therefore, you're not permitted to use these oils that don't burn well, because you may manipulate it. And who uses Shabbos candles today? We use Shabbos candles. You have electricity. Nevertheless, you say there, once the halacha is in place, it's in place, right? Even though times have changed, circumstances have changed. Whatever, during a blackout, right? So you light candles, right? You don't want to be in the dark. So okay, so you see, even though we don't rely on candles, but there are times you do rely on candles. So it's not that remote that something could have happened. But there is Hanukkah, but because of the ignorance, a person may relight it. So therefore, if somebody would ask me, la halacha, that what did you do? I'd say you have to use first quality oil. Why? Because people don't know. Because people don't know, you could have the same problem. Sure you could. No, but why could you use an inferiority quality oil for Ner Hanukkah on Shabbos? And for Ner Shabbos, you're not permitted. Why? Because we're saying for Ner Shabbos that you're permitted to benefit from the light. So its value is personal. You have a personal benefit. So what happens? It starts flickering to go out. What would you normally do? You start manipulating the wick that it shouldn't go out. But Ner Hanukkah, you can't benefit in either case. So you're not going to manipulate the wick. So even it's inferior quality oil or the wick is inferior, it's not a problem. But if a person doesn't know the halacha, he thinks it has to keep burning. So what's going to be his reaction? He may manipulate the wick. No, I understand that. But the whole idea is, what? No, but it's Friday night. Well, he would tell me, therefore, that's the reason why you're permitted to use the oil. He's saying, since we rule Kovsein Zokak law, that if it's extinguished, you have no obligation to relight it. So a person's not concerned if he sees it flickering going out, he'll let it go out because he already was Yotzei the mitzvah. That's the way he's explaining it. But he's saying if we would hold Kovso Zokak law, let's say if it extinguished, you have an obligation to relight it, you couldn't use these inferior quality oils. So I'm saying, even though we don't rule that way, but what does the average person know? He's ignorant. He may believe he's obligated to relight it. So if that's the case, we have a problem. So therefore, I would advise people, if they would ask me, use quality oil, because you're going to have a problem. He's going on the Gemara. He's saying the Gemara. See, there's two separate things. There's the takana. It's the way it's legend. It's like people say, you shouldn't ride a bike on Shabbos. So you know why? Because what happens, even within an Eruv. Because you know what happens if you have a flat tire or something has to be adjusted? It's a question of makab and patish. But that's not, the Chazal never made such a gzeira. But if, let's say you have a community and it is an issue, you advise people don't do it. If they do it, they're not in violation of anything. But if it's going to be inevitable, there are going to be problems, you advise people don't do it. So the same thing over here. The way it was legislated, it's not a problem. But if factually it's going to be a problem, you tell people don't do it. No, it's not it's just a reality. It's a reality. It's not a getter on the getter. It's not a getter. That's not a gzera. Factually, people are going to manipulate the wick. Shiv Zechron Baruch once told me a story. The Gemara says in Shabbos that you're not permitted to read by candlelight because because if it starts flickering, as a person normally does, he adjusts it, and it's havara, kindling. Unless you have a shomer, if you have somebody standing by you when you read by candlelight to make sure and watching you that you should not, because the person doesn't even think it's almost reflexive, then you're permitted to read by candlelight. So there's a story of Meir Simcha, Friday night, wanted to study something. And he wanted to take a sefer out of his bookcase, and it was like on a high shelf. So he stood on a chair, took it off. He just wanted to glance at it for a moment. Something. So he has somebody to stand by him Friday night to be the shomer, to watch that he should not manipulate the wick. Because the Gemara says even if it's beyond your reach, they didn't differentiate. Within your reach with beyond your reach. The Gemara says in Shabbos, even if it's 10 stories above you, but if it's a fire burning with a wick, you're not permitted to read by its light. Because they didn't differentiate, because if you say that, it's inevitable, even at a lesser level, they're going to come to read by its light. So Rabbi Yosef asked the person, could you please stand by while I study something? I just want to look up something. Gets on the chair, and he becomes so engrossed in what he's learning, he stood still throughout the night till dawn, standing on the chair, holding the Rambam in his hand, just looking in the Rambam, fully engrossed in the Rambam. So the person had to stand there all night. He was there all night, making sure that Rabbi Yosef should not manipulate the wick. But that was his power of concentration. Once he became engrossed, yeah. Reminds me of some people when. Right, not for light, not for illumination, for other. Yeah, I agree. It's for illumination. No, we have wax candles, it's never a problem. The quality of our candles, it's never a question. No, you're not allowed to read by it. You're not allowed to read. No, we have electricity. It's like the shamus. It's like you have the shamus, right? You have the shamus, the additional, so it's not considered you're reading by that, you're reading by something else. You weren't permitted. You couldn't read by that. By that lantern, you couldn't read by it. You couldn't read by it. By any light, any light you couldn't read by. Unless you had somebody standing by watching you, that you're not going to manipulate it. Because, people, was the way. A person normally lets you use the lantern. A lantern, he had a thing, and naturally, without him thinking, the thing would start dimming, so he would turn it. Without him thinking. Look, you can speak to Alec, he gives a chair with the Ukraine. That's what they used to do. Well, I know you had it, that's what I'm telling you. Puerto Rico also, before they had electricity there. How many years was it? 15 years ago they brought it in. Okay. Not paraffin. They make it out of oil, out of real, petroleum. Ner Chanukah or Ner Shabbos? Put it this way. According to, there's a question, there's a Maral. The Maral of Prague says, La Locha, you should not use, you should only use olive oil for Shabbos. That's the Maral of Prague rules. Others, anybody uses an oil candle, it's al pi Kabbalah. On a Kabbalistic level, they use, the way I do it, we do it always wax candles. However, Rabbi Pinto once told me, and other people told me, it's better to light an additional, besides the wax. So we do it the other way. We use just oil, and we have an additional wax candle. Olive oil. Olive oil is the better. There's no such thing as the better quality olive oil, less quality. It burns the same. Hatzalah tells you shouldn't use that oil, but it's very dangerous. That kind of oil, because unless it's contained in a very protected type of thing, no, it can cause serious fires. Hatzalah tells people they should not use that oil because if you spill to any degree, it's so flammable, the whole house can go up from it. I'm just telling you. Hatzalah tells people not to use that oil, not to use it. Okay. See, in this class you get everything. Safety, instruction, and other things. Yeah. To use that, if you want to read, only reading. You want to eat by it, it's not a problem. It's a problem. Right, exactly. Yeah. Doesn't make a difference. You're not permitted to read by candlelight on Shabbos unless somebody's watching you, that you should not manipulate it. No, it could be anybody watching you. You could be a housekeeper. Yeah, we had it in they had electricity in that show.